G'day! In today's video I'm doing a screen replacement or screen and frame replacement on a Samsung Galaxy S20. This one is a pink edition. That doesn't really matter too much. To begin with, I'm going to take a thin metal pry tool, some isopropyl alcohol. I've also had it sitting on my heat pad for 75 degrees Celsius. And I'm going to spray some isopropyl on the pry tool and then go through the slight gap that's here. And if all goes well, you don't want to push it in too far either, just at the risk of damaging flex cables. We'll see those soon. Okay, starting to lift. Now we should be close to it to being able to leave. There we go, and we are in. Pull up my screw container. Have a compare to the replacement screen. And let's get into it. So to begin with, I'm going to take the screws out of the bottom section, work my way up. As with most other Samsung phones, the screws don't want to fully leave, they just kind of sit there in the plastic. For a second there I slightly confused myself by having the frame of a S10 sitting beside it. That's alright, continue on. And lucky for us, in typical Samsung fashion, so far all these screws look to be the same length. Now I'll move my screw container away and let's have a look under here. One shield off, metal shield, nearly off. So with those shields off, the next thing I'm going to do is disconnect the battery. So I'll just use my fingernail, under, flick up. Luckily, well, unlucky for me, I don't really have much fingernail. There we go. Battery is now disconnected. And from here I'm going to disconnect these 3 flex cables. Just doing a very similar thing to the battery, just a fingernail underneath and flick up. 3. There we go. Another thing we're going to need to remove is the SIM tray. So SIM eject tool. There we go. Pull that up. Run the SIM tray out. Need to also disconnect this cable here for the buttons on the side. Now that one's a bit more trickier with a fingernail, so personally I'm going to switch to some tweezers and just lightly go under and up. Also we're going to disconnect the front facing camera. Fold that out of the way. Another cable here to disconnect, I believe, right here. And we have one black Phillips head screw. So if I undo that, there we go. With a bit of luck from here, should be able to lift out that board. There we go. Up. So I used to use some tweezers on the bottom left corner. Now looking over at the new one, this one is a Samsung service kit, or pack, depending on what you want to call it. And it does look like we will need to move the sensor over here, over. It's strange, it's normally there by default. I'm going to pull it up just slightly, then slide my tweezers underneath. And do the same over here. Sorry I don't have you in view. There we go. So I've lifted this section up. There we go. Disappointingly, the gasket did stay on there, the double-sided adhesive. I'm not liking the chances of being able to remove that. So what I'm going to do is lay it back down, push on it, and then try and lift it up again. And try and dig the tweezers down and under. Not much luck. Now I'll just simply manually move it over. It does seem to be holding its shape fairly well. So I'll go to the new screen. And install that down here. There we go, that's on there. Simply move it over and push it down. There we go. Now if I go back to the old frame, now we should be able to drop the main board in over here. So we need to move flex cable 1 out of the way. Display flex cable out of the way, and pull that front facing camera up just slightly, enough so we can slot it underneath that cable as well. So I'll push it up to the top first, then drop it down here, and we seem to be good. There we go, just push down lightly. There we go. I will use the tweezers to help me out here a little bit. So again, line this up, push down. It should make a little bit of a crunch feel to it. And it should be very similar to the front facing. There we go, front facing is connected. Good, I'll just push that into the case that I've got underneath it. There we go. Now, put our black screw back in. Has a gold ring around it, just here. We could also put our SIM card tray back in once more. That's in. Righto, so we're pretty good here. Do have to connect our buttons up. There we go. So right now, I'd say we're about 1/3 through it. I'll move that out of the way. And next up, we want to work on the lower half of the phone. So take off this plastic protector. I'll just use my tweezers to dig under there just slightly. And what we've got here is flex cable, which I will leave connected, and 2 Phillips head screws, 3 Phillips head screws to remove the charging board. So as for the extra effort that you have to take to get this out, I am happy that this would enable you to replace the charging port and board without the requirement of micro soldering. So you wouldn't have to have super expensive equipment to be able to do this. There we go, lift that up and out. So if you're just doing the charging port, you could simply replace this lower section here. Should we zoom in a little bit further? Should be able to see a model number there. SM-G981B05A. Now, oddly enough, they have left the vibrating motor still on here. So we'll have to dig that out. We'll use this hole just here. Just here, and dig and twist. And we have the vibrating motor out. That's quite easy to swap over. Just drop into the gap. There we go. And lucky for me, the adhesive lifted up on the back of the motor. So granted, that's nothing in quality compared to what like the the iPhone Taptic engine would be like. It should slide down on a slight angle and push in. It is challenging. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Take it out and have a quick look, but everything seems to be the same. There we go. Now put those 3 screws back in. 1. 2. 3. Next up is probably one of the more challenging parts of this, especially if you don't have the right equipment, is removing the battery. So I'm going to use my old friend isopropyl once more, and just basically drizzle it in there. This is now considered an old broken dead screen, and I should be able to use a thin pry tool like this, or a plastic pry tool, and lift it out. The isopropyl combined with the heat at 75 degrees does make this considerably easier to get apart, so that has worked in my favour. Now I no longer require the heat, so I will turn it off. And now it's the process of installing the battery and reassembly. So I'm going to move the old one away, which is now no longer relevant. And take off this plastic tab here. Move it out of the way. I do like the all metal back here. Should brace it up a little bit more. And I will need some double-sided adhesive. I'll use some of this stuff. Not much of it's really needed, but enough to stop that battery rattling around or potentially causing damage or damaging itself. So a couple of strips and it should be okay. Put one along here. one over here. Also what I'm going to do is put the old back cover on the heat pad here. I guess I'll turn that back on and stick it at 60 degrees just to get the adhesive nice and tacky once more. So then I can just reapply that on the back. Being that the double-sided tape peeled off perfectly fine, a bit of heat, I should be able to reapply it. Yes, it will lose some of its integrity, but it should still be okay. And then fold it out of the way. First of all, I want to reconnect the battery, just so I can get the positioning of the battery just right. So now I can push down on the battery. I'm going to disconnect it once more. So now I know that will fit as is, and now I need to work my way over these flex connectors here, and here. So basically what I do is roughly line them up, wobble it around a little bit, and then push down. And that lining it up loosely and then wobbling it should get it sitting in the right position. Then you can just push it down and click it into position. There we go. They will make a bit of a snap crack noise when you put them into place. That is fairly standard of FPC connectors. Actually, these aren't FPC connectors. Anyway, so now reconnect the battery once more. 1, 2, 3 connected, 4 connected, 5, 6. So we're mostly good. Now, lastly, we want to put the shields back on. So I'll start my way at the bottom, slide that in on an angle going to the bottom, and then push down from the top. That clicks us into position. And then we want to start putting in our Phillips head screws. So I have kept mine in a rough placement of where I got them from, just out of habit, but I don't believe that's really necessary on this particular model, as Samsung seem to have used the same length screws everywhere. But do try and put them in the right place, just in case I'm wrong. But I'm reasonably happy that they are where they're meant to be. Sliding down, we'll do the upper half. So we'll put the metal shield down again, like so. Actually, I believe we go plastic first. So I'll take that back off. Push this up to the top corner, angled, now down. Now I'll drop the metal shield over the back. There we go. Now it should be a matter of putting all those screws back into their original positions. And with that, we should nearly have a fully reassembled S20. Which I don't mind the design of the S20 personally. I like the design of it a lot more compared to the 9, 10, 10 Plus. Granted, I'm not sure if I would own one. The S20 Fan Edition is very enticing. It's a little bit cheaper, but then again, I'm a bit of a tight ass when it comes to stuff like that. I'll buy it if it's good value and it's dirt cheap. So I'll probably pick one up second hand eventually. And this should be the last 3 screws I need to put back in. Go. And lastly, with all the screws put in, do note this. This is the rear facing microphone here and here. This does have various contacts which must make contact over here to function. So let's say you do a repair on this and you find that once you've reassembled the whole phone, you get no audio during video recording or rear-facing video recording. I would suspect that this here isn't making full contact. So that is something just to be aware of when you're reassembling this. So from here, it should be right to put it back over. As I said about the gasket, the double-sided frame is, well, the double-sided tape is looking pretty darn good, so I'm happy to reuse it. Anyway, I'll put that back into its case. And this is going to go off the charge, and I'll give the customer a call from there. And that is how to repair the screen on your S20. Hope this helps you, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.